I can never be depressed if I never slow down. Speed is extremely important. Speed defies gravity. How does a plane fly through the air and defy gravity? Speed. It's moving too fast to fall. If you're always attacking life, if you're always doing things, if you're always making more money, if you're always traveling the world, doing this, doing that, new car, here, there, new podcast, meeting James English, boom, boom, boom. If you're always doing things all the time, unhappiness can't catch you.
You think you could slip if you stopped?
I don't think I would because of how my mind works, but I also know that speed is a fantastic way to be happy all the time. I'm always looking forward to something. I wake up every day excited. I'll go do this today. I'll go do this today. I'll go do this today. And I very much live my life in a frame of, no, I have to do this. It's very much I get to do this.
Hard work actually works. And with virtually everything. It might not make you the best at whatever it is you're pursuing, but it will certainly make you better than you are. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. That's one. And then work as hard as you possibly can on one thing and see what happens. And that's also predicated on this idea that discipline is a precondition to freedom. So you were fortunate, like you had this goal, right? So that meant you had a goal, which is a really big deal because you could learn about goals. You had a sense of a higher mode of moral being, that I would rather be a good SEAL than the person I am now. Well, it's a code of behavior and a way of perceiving. So there's an ethic in that. And then you said as well, your conception of what good SEAL meant changed as you matured. But that's also fine. It wouldn't have changed unless you would have pursued that initial, only partially accurate goal. And so that's also a really good thing for people to understand is like, if you don't know what you're doing, aim at something. Is it the right thing? No. But it's better than just shooting randomly. So you aim at something, and then as you aim and you move towards it, you're going to find out why you're wrong. And then you might recalibrate your aim. And that's going to happen over and over, because as you move towards a goal, it recedes, or it broadens, or it recedes and broadens, and otherwise you'd run out of things to do.
To the young men, I would say that you are born in a fortunate but unfortunate situation in which you are a blank canvas as a man. You have no innate value. Male life has no significance. Nobody cares, right? If you talk about 10 women dying in a car crash, everyone cares. You talk about 10 men dying in war, nobody cares. Because you have no innate value, you get the possibility to build yourself from the ground up. Just like when you start a video game, your character isn't worth shit. But if you go out there, you do difficult things, you make money, you complete quests, you get better weapons, you get more money, whatever it takes, you get to level up and you get to become a hero. That is what life is like as a man for real. It's going to suck. Sometimes you're going to suffer, you're going to go through pain, but all that pain you go through is absolutely not really necessary for you to become the man you want to be. So, what I would say to the young men out there is that life is going to be hard. But you need to stop trying to shy away from hardness. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Every single time something happens that's hard to you, you need to sit there and go, good, how can I use this to become a better person? Because a man, becoming a man and staying a man is a very long process and it's a very, very long journey. The problem is that the world we live in is player versus player. Yeah. Now, I would like to believe in a world where you don't have to wake up and think about the money, where you don't have to wake up and think about the bag, you don't have to wake up and think, how do I get paid? Where instead you could wake up and think, I want to enjoy my time, I want to spend time with my family, etc., etc. The problem is it's player versus player. There are people like me. There are sharks in the ocean. If you want to stay a fish, you're going to. There are people like me who wake up and think, I want more. Don't give. I already have everything I could ever think of. I already have enough money to buy everything I could ever dream of. I can't even think of anything on the planet I want. Don't care. I want more so I can take it from others. There are people like me that exist. And you have to compete against people like me. It's player versus player. So when I say lazy, my entire life is work. And when I say that, people think that's depressing. No, it's not. It's not depressing. I love it. Every single thing I do is work. When I go to the gym, it's so I'm in fantastic shape, so I can call everyone a brokey, and they don't want to come up to me on the street because it's off. Come on. When I come here and do a podcast and have a nice conversation with you gentlemen, work. I'm making money in between work. It's all work. Life is work. Existence is work. If I'm awake, I'm working. Every single thing I do is conscious. It's all done on purpose. The answer to 99% of questions or conundrums or scenarios that people come up and ask me, 99% of the time, the answer is work harder. My girl left me. What do I do? Hit the gym. My friend died. What do I do? Become exceptional. I'm sad. What do I do? Train. Like, the answer is nearly universal. Yep. It's always working harder is never going to not help. No matter what scenario you're in, working harder is never going to not help you. And it's amazing that I give different versions of the same answer for 99% of the questions I'm asked. Work harder. If you have a problem, whether you're broke, whether you're out of shape, whether your friend dies, whether your girl leaves you, whether you're depressed, whatever it is, Working harder is almost always the answer. So you know what you need to do. You need to do it. And what's amazing, again, is kind of like the antidote. If you take the antidote before the poison, then you never get sick in the first place. If you're always working as hard as possible, if you're always working yourself and trying to be the best version of yourself every single day, then you never get sick in the first place. You're already working. You're already taking the antidote. So things can't attach to you. They can't get hold of you. If you're working as hard as possible all of the time, then you already have all your answers before the problems even appear. I was working my ass off before the Matrix canceled. And then the Matrix canceled me and I continued to work my ass off. And here I am, more famous than I was before the cancellation. Why? Because I already had momentum. I already had speed. I'd already taken the antidote to cancellation before they hit me with the poison. Working hard is the antidote to everything. So why don't you just do it in advance? Why don't your life just become work like mine? Why don't you just dedicate yourself to a cause and get up and do what you're supposed to do every single day? If you do that, there's very little weapons that the Matrix can forge to attack you with. It's genuinely true. I get thousands of emails a day. Everyone I grew up with, people I know, I get it all the time. They'll message me, hey man, I'm just unlucky. You are not unlucky. You are a lazy loser. You are not unlucky. You are breathing. You're lucky. The unlucky ones are gone. You're alive and you are a lazy loser. So a loser is anybody who does not have everything they want at the drop of a hat. That's who I call a loser. Because I have absolutely everything I could ever possibly desire. And if I wanted something that I couldn't have, I guarantee you could speak again in a few months. I guarantee you. Because if I want something and I can't have it, I can't sleep.
I've always been disciplined for myself because I've always lived a disciplined life. I lived in a disciplined household. Like there was no such thing as I don't want to. So even now, if I wake up and I don't want to do something, I don't need someone to tell me to do it because I'll do it anyway. Who wants to run a marathon? Nobody. Who wants to do that? You just do it, don't you? Because, it's the thing you're going to have to do, and you have to blood, sweat, tears, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I was growing up in a very disciplined household, and I think it's absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me.
Just showing up is half the battle. You got to try hard to do it, and don't be afraid of failure. You also need to be rooted in reality. So you shouldn't, it's easy to get high in your own supply. You've got to not be afraid to innovate, but also don't delude yourself into thinking something's working when it's not. Or you're going to get fixated on a bad solution. Yeah, don't be afraid of new arenas. You can get a book, you can learn something, and experiment with your hands, and just make it happen. Find a way or make a way to get something done. But I think people can choose to be not ordinary. They can choose to not necessarily conform to the conventions that were taught to them by their parents. So yes, I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary.
Being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell you. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week.
Imagine that you're like the potential composite of all the ancestral wisdom that's locked inside of you biologically. But that's not going to come out at all unless you stress yourself, unless you challenge yourself. And the bigger the challenge you take on, the more that's going to turn on. And so that as you take on a broader and broader range of challenges and you push yourself harder, then more and more of what you could be turns on, and that's equivalent to transforming yourself into the ancestral father, because you're like you're the consequence of all these living beings that have come before you, and that's all part of your biological potentiality. And then if you can push yourself, then all of that clicks on, and that turns you into who you could be. That's the re-representation of that positive ancestral father. Now, one of the things I recommend to young people, especially true for people in their 20s, is that you should push yourself beyond your limits of tolerance in your 20s to find out where it is. How much can you work? How disciplined can you become? Like, can you work 12 hours a day? Can you work 8 hours a day? Can you work 3 hours a day? Like, flat out. Where's your limit? And how much work can you do and how much socialization? You should find out. Push yourself past and then back off to that point where it's optimally sustainable.